Welcome to Commander for Dummies. I am your host, Bobby Maximus, and you have come to your one-stop shopping place for all things Commander, all things EDH. Now, I talked about this before, but I want to make sure you get the gist, you get the idea of what this program is about. You see, I've been collecting Magic for 31 years. I started in Unlimited. I started by collecting complete sets, and then I started making 60-card decks. Recently, over the last couple of years, I got heavily into Commander. And over those couple of years, I've amassed 57 complete, absolutely dynamic, incredible Commander decks. But when I started playing Commander, the learning curve was really, really high. It's a different game than Modern. It's a different game than Standard. It's a different game than Legacy. It's a different game than the kitchen table 60-card stuff that I used to play. There's a lot of intricacies that come along with Commander. And if you're a new player like I was, you are constantly running to the computer, you are opening up Google, and you're trying to find the answers to some of your most burning questions. Things like, how many lands should I run? How many creatures should I run? What are the best artifact staples? What are the best green staples? All right? So, this series was born as a way to give new players an idea how to build a really solid Commander deck out of the gate. But it's not just for beginners. If you're an intermediate player, if you're an advanced player, and a lot of us consider ourselves to be advanced players, there's some things that you're going to want to stay tuned for because you will learn as well. So the topic of today's episode is the 10 essential green cards that you need in your Commander deck. 10 green cards that will go in any Commander deck, and I would defy you, if you were building a green deck, to exclude one of these cards. Now, we are also operating on a premise here. We're not going to include any of the game changers. Why not? Because a lot of people play Bracket 2, and you can't have any game changers. So I'm sorry, I've got a list of my game changers pulled up. I'm sorry, Crop Rotation. I'm sorry, Food Chain, Gaia's Cradle, Natural Order, Seedborn Muse, Survival of the Fittest, Vorinclex, and Worldly Tutor. You did not make the cut for my list. I will say this. If you don't care what bracket you play in, get all of those game changers and put them in your deck. They're game changers for a reason. They are incredibly powerful cards. Listen, if I have a Worldly Tutor, it is 100% going in my deck. Unless, again, I'm trying to play Bracket 2, right? But if I have a Natural Order, it is 100% going in my deck. I have a Survival of the Fittest, and I only have 2 of those. I was going to say I'm lucky to own 2 of them. I wish I had 10. Survival of the Fittest would literally go in every deck that I own. But we all know that the game changers are great cards. So what are other cards? 10 essential green cards that we can put in our deck. We're going to talk about that right now. But as a bonus today, I have a couple of what I'll say honorable mentions for you. Cards that didn't quite make the cut for me, but they could. And the first one, I've got them 3 here listed. The first one is Green Sun's Zenith. Search your library for a green creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. Shuffle Green Sun's Zenith into its owner's library. I've said this before, I will say it again. And if you follow this series, if you like my stuff, if you follow some of my stuff on YouTube, you've heard this before, and I'm going to say it literally a million more times in my life. The 3 most important aspects to building a good Commander deck are card draw, mana ramp, and tutoring. Green Sun's Zenith handles the tutoring. You can never have too many tutors. You got 100 cards in your deck. A lot of games are over by turn 7, turn 8. That's actually considered a long game by today's standards. You're never going to see all the cards in your deck. So you want tutors to go get the cards that you need. The next card up, and it's technically not a green card, but you have to use it in a green deck, the Emerald Medallion. Now, I would have included this. I did a video on the top 10 artifacts you need in your Commander deck. This didn't make the cut, though. Why? Because this only works in green decks, so hence why it's an honorable mention today. The Emerald Medallion. It costs 2 to bring out, and green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. In a mono green deck, this card is incredible, and it's not technically mana ramp. However, it does accelerate your curve, if you will. So I kind of count it under the mana ramp umbrella. Things that reduce the casting cost of my creatures, of my artifacts, of my enchantments, of my instants, of all those things, they count as mana ramp to me. Think of something like an Urza's Incubator, right? You want to use, if you build any type of kinfolk, typal, tribal deck, you want an Urza's Incubator. And the third card is the Yavimaya Hollow. You can tap it and you add one colorless mana to your mana pool. But here's the big one. If you pay 1 green mana, you can regenerate target creature. And the ability to regenerate your target creatures is absolutely massive if you want to protect some of those creatures. And by the way, green plays with a lot of the best creatures in Magic, so you want a way to protect them. You want a way to regenerate them. The Yavimaya Hollow. So those are my 3 honorable mentions today. And truly with green, I could have had a lot more honorable mentions, right? And I really struggled to make this list because green is such a powerful color in Magic the Gathering. I wanted to include cards like the Growing Rites of Itmalok that turns into kind of a baby Gaia's Cradle. I wanted to include the Oracle of Mul Daya. You see all this bonus content I'm giving you? I lied. There wasn't 3 honorable mentions. We are clearly going a lot deeper. We have the Disciple of Freelis, and this is from that Modern Horizons 3 set. It's one of those dual-sided cards where you also get a land on the back, so it acts like a little bit of mana fixing. But when Disciple of Freelis enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. Card draw is massive. Extra land is absolutely massive. We talked about tutors. Tooth and Nail. Choose one. Search your library for up to 2 target creatures. Reveal them. Put them onto your hand. Then shuffle your library. Or put up to 2 target creature cards from your hand into play. You pay the entwine cost. You can do both. And you're already paying 7. You might as well pay 9. Especially when you see the 10 cards I've laid out today. The 10 green essentials you need. Mana is going to be no problem, all right? And the final one, Summoner's Pact. Could have put that in the top 10. Search your library for a green creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. At the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 4 mana, 2 of them being green. If you don't, you lose the game. And I have never lost a game on a Summoner's Pact. The reason is because green has so much mana available to it. Trust me, you are never going to run out of mana, so don't be scared of the Summoner's Pact. That actually whole line of packed cards is tremendous. So with all that said, you got some bonus content from me, Bobby Maximus. You are here, Commanders for Dummies. What are the top 10 cards that you want to put in your green Commander deck? What are the essentials? And the first one up, and these are in no particular order, but there's going to be some surprises on the list. The first one up is a card called Exploration. It costs 1 mana, and that's really important because I want to keep the total mana value of my deck low. A little bit on that in a minute, but I want to talk about this card first. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. If you can get ahead in the land game, there's not many Commander games that you are going to lose. We talk about mana ramp. We talk about being able to cast that 6-drop creature on turn 2 or turn 3. Exploration helps you do things like this. Not traditional mana ramp, but the fact that you can play an extra land is absolutely monstrous in a game of Commander. It's why earlier I showed you the Oracle of Mul Daya. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play lands from the top of your library. Now, why is Exploration in my top 10 and the Oracle of Mul Daya is not? It comes down to casting cost. Casting cost 1, casting cost 4. And I talk about the mana value of your deck. And I can pull up my decks. I've got them all categorized online. But here's the deal. The total mana value of the deck is all of these symbols added together. So 4 plus 5, the mana value is, 4 plus 1, I got ahead of myself right there. The total mana value is 5. You add 0, it stays to 5. You add 7, it turns to 12. For me, competitive decks, I want my mana value to be under 200. And the lower under 200 I can get, the quicker the deck's going to move, the better it's going to be. Some of my best decks, like I think about my Anwan, the Rune Sage deck, it is a mill deck. It's a rogue kind of kinfolk tribal deck. It's 162. I think of my Urza deck. That is the baddest deck that I own, and it's 171. You see, those decks, they go fast and furious. They go off extremely fast. You start getting above 200, your deck's going to move slower. And a lot of games these days, we talked about, a 7 or 8 turn game being the long game. There's a lot of games that are going to be over turn 4, turn 5 these days. So you want to make sure your deck can move fast. You want to get all your stuff out. Now, the only way there's an exception to that, right? Can you play a deck with a mana value of 300 or something like that? I mean, sure, if it's a gimmicky type deck. So think of like a Braids where you can just constantly get stuff out of your hand. Then you want the biggest, the baddest creatures. Braids, you're building them on a blue deck. But you're going to want to flood that with Leviathans, Krakens, Eldrazi's, things of that nature. That's the exception to that rule. But in general, you want that casting cost low. So that's why I like Exploration. That's number 1. Number 2, the greatest mana ramp card of all time in the history of Magic the Gathering. The Birds of Paradise. Flying, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Play this ability as an interrupt. It only costs 1 to bring out. But here's the kicker with this. You literally can use any mana. An island, a swamp, a mountain, a plains, a forest. So in a 4 or a 5 color deck, this is absolutely insane. But even in just a mono green deck, it's a great card. It is flying, and you get the mana you need right away and on turn 1. So you want to know the ultimate opening hand? Imagine in your opening hand, you had a Birds of Paradise and you had a Soul Ring and 3 lands and a couple of other cards. You are off to the races. I promise you, you're not going to lose that game. So the Birds of Paradise, all right? That's number 2. Now, number 3, we actually have 3 cards because they're all very similar. And more often than not, I include all 3 of these in my decks. We have the Elvish Mystic, we have the Findhorn Elves, and we have the Llanowar Elves. And they're essentially clone creatures, all right? The Llanowar Elves, you add 1 mana to your mana pool. It's a casting cost of 1. The Elvish Mystic, a casting cost of 1, and you add 1 to your mana pool. And then the Findhorn Elves, you add 1 to your mana pool, and it's a casting cost of 1. So just pick your poison here, right? All incredible cards. Again, more often than not, I will include all 3 of these. And if you're sleeping on mana ramp still, let me give you an idea of how this works. I want to press the rewind button a little bit. I talked about you get 3 lands in your opening hand, you get a Soul Ring, you get a Birds of Paradise, and you say you get a Llanowar Elves. So turn 1, you put down a land, you tap it, you bring out your Soul Ring. Next turn, you have access to 3 mana. You put out another green, and then you bring out 2 of these. So now, all of a sudden, on the board, you got a Llanowar Elves, you got a Birds of Paradise, you got 2 lands, and you got a Soul Ring. Turn 3, you can bring out something with a casting cost of not only 6, but 7 because you're going to put down that 3rd land. So now you can really, really accelerate the game. And what can you do? You can use your Tooth and Nail for 7 mana on turn 3. That's an incredible play. You can use your Green Sun's Zenith. You can use something like an Archdruid's Charm. You can use a Court of Calling. You can bring out a giant, beefy green creature that's going to stomp the table. Like, trust me, do not ever sleep on mana ramp. So these 3 cards, more often than not, in a mono green deck, I will have all of these 3 cards. In some of the other decks, I'd rather go for a Birds of Paradise because there's some mana fixing, right? This is only going to give you green, but these still will work in a 3 or 4 or 5 color deck. In a 2 color deck or a 1 color deck, they're absolutely no-brainers. So, my mana ramp cards. Now, mana ramp isn't the only way you can win a game. We also talked about card draw. So let's talk about what I think is a really underrated card, the Greater Good. Sacrifice a creature, so this enchantment acts as a sack outlet. And draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power. Then choose and discard 3 cards. In green, you're going to have some big beefy creatures. You're going to have 6/6, a 7/7, a 4/4, an 8/8. You're going to have some a 5/5. You're going to have some massive creatures. So card draw, this card is massive, all right? And card draw it's huge in Commander. Like I said, a lot of games, even if we're talking turn 7 or turn 8, we're talking about the late game these days. It's hard to believe that turn 8 is the late game, but you're not going to see all of the cards in your deck. The more you can draw through that deck, the greater your chances of winning. Like, why do you think cards like the One Ring and Skull Clamp are so desirable? Now, Skull Clamp, I wouldn't say it's desirable because it's pretty much common these days. Like, you can get a bunch of them. But the One Ring, for sure, because it is a card draw engine. So greater good, get that in your deck for card draw. Sylvan Library. Like, is there a world where you build a green deck and you don't have a Sylvan Library? The answer is no, unless you don't have the money for a Sylvan Library. But they are starting to drop in price. There's been a lot of reprints, so that is great. Literally every single green deck I build has a Sylvan Library. In fact, you notice that this one is not in plastic. I'll tell you, these cards come from my actual decks. One of the things that I always promise you with these shows is I will always use real cards. All right? I kind of grow fatigued to the content where people put graphics on the screen and things like this, and they tell you, here's the green cards that you want, and they're cards that nobody can afford or nobody has, right? Like Gaia's Cradle is always on somebody's list, and they don't actually own a Gaia's Cradle. I'm a person that I will go to my box of cards, and let me see one here, where I actually have to look through my box of extras, right? And here's a whole nother stack, but this is a box of extra cards where I've got to build my deck from what I have. So I like to show you real cards to show you that I'm genuine 100% for real. And I always, in my extra stack of cards, have some Sylvan Libraries. Great for card draw. At the beginning of your draw step, you may draw 2 additional cards. If you do, choose 2 cards in your hand, draw on this turn. For each of those cards, pay 4 life or put the card on top of your library. Now, 4 life might seem like a steep cost. First of all, you're probably not going to pay 4 too often for the cards unless you really, really, really want them. But this is a continuing card draw engine, okay? It's going to allow you to get a massive card advantage. But even if you pay the 4, if you drop from 40 life to 36 in a game of Commander, to get that card, to get that Craterhoof Behemoth that's going to run everyone over, it is 100% worth it. This in some of these 60 card games where you got 20 life, this is harsh. This is harsh. But in Commander, this card is almost unfair. Should have never been printed. Should be banned for Commander. I'm just kidding. I don't believe in the banned list at all. But in Commander, don't worry about that loss of life. It's a great card. Speaking of card draw, and speaking of a card that's tailor-made for Commander, the Guardian Project. A lot of people sleep on this. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. Now, in a format where you're allowed 4 of the same type of creature, not that powerful. In Commander, where you're literally, you're going to have unique creatures on the board anyway because you're only allowed 1 of each card in each Commander deck. The Guardian Project is an incredible card draw engine. In Commander, I actually might rank it above Sylvan Library. A lot of people would argue that point, but it is insane. In my Elf deck, in my Squirrel deck, in my Voja Wolves deck, this card is absolutely monstrous, and you will be able to draw an insane amount of cards with the Guardian Project. So card draw, Guardian Project. Now for some tutors, because we talked about the importance of tutoring. You see what I did here? These 10 essentials, they cover those 3 things. When I tell you that it's all about mana ramp, all about card draw, all about tutoring, I was not lying. That's something I will say with my chest. But we have some tutors now. The Archdruid's Charm. The 3 green mana, and that might seem like this casting cost kind of scares me away sometimes because you got to get 3 4-so, right? But in a mono green deck, incredible. Search your library for a creature card or land card, reveal it, put it onto the battlefield tap. That's huge to put it onto the battlefield instead of just your hand. All right. put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. And then you can exile target artifact or enchantment. Now, you get to choose one of those, so I am usually choosing the tutor. I'm putting it onto the battlefield tapped. If it's a land, otherwise I'm putting it into my hand and I am shuffling, but I love the ability to be able to put that card into the battlefield right away, especially if it's a land. But it's a great tutor. And again, you can get a creature or a land. The 1/1 counter on target creature you control, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. That can be massive, especially with big, beefy green creatures. And then we got the removal thing, right? Exile target artifact or enchantment. You know what you don't have enough of in your commander deck? Removal. Removal is huge, especially for artifacts and enchantments. Another tutor, Court of Calling. 3 mana and then pay X. Convoke. Your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting a spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield. Shuffle your library. Another great tutor. You don't have a worldly tutor. These really, really work. And speaking of tutors, it's a creature, but it's one of the most underrated tutor cards there is. You don't have a survival of the fittest, grab yourself the Fauna Shaman. Super low casting cost. It's a 2/2, so you can use it as a blocker. You pay a green mana, discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. A great way, whatever creature you have in your hand, right? Like you could get rid of the Elvish Mystic. Now, I talked about how important it is, but if you already had a Findhorn Elves and a Landwar Elves in your hand, you could get rid of an Elvish Mystic and you could go get that big beefy green creature like the Craterhoof Behemoth. So the Fauna Shaman, incredible tutor card. And the final one is a card that I'm sad to say not enough people play and not enough people understand the value of it. And it might be the saltiest card on this list. Kenrith's Transformation. Enchant creature. When Kenrith's Transformation enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Wonderful. An enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. Remember I said you don't play with enough enchantment removal? A lot of people don't either. So when someone brings out that Edgar Markov, you slap a Kenrith's Transformation on it. Chances are that Edgar's done for the game. And none of the other players would removal, right? You're at a 4-person table. If you put this on Edgar Markov on one player, I promise you no one's helping that person out. They are happy to let Edgar Markov just rot in purgatory for the rest of the game. You can slap this on a Sheoldred. What are some other nasty commanders that people play with? Something like a Krenko. You slap this on Krenko, that person's game is over. There's obviously some commanders that are better than others and more problematic than others, but Kenrith's Transformation, it in a lot of ways is better than removal, because if you remove the commander, it goes back to the command zone. You can't keep it in exile or whatever, and then it's coming out the next turn. People will find ways to repeatedly cast that. You put Kenrith's Transformation on a person's commander, and they don't have the proper removal. And like I said, no one at the table is going to help that person. They are done. It is a wrap. It is over. So there you have it. The green cards that you want in your deck. We got Kenrith's Transformation. We have Fauna Shaman. We have the Elvish Mystic, the Findhorn Elves, the Landwar Elves. I actually got a fun old school version from Ice Age of the Findhorn Elves to show you. I've been collecting that long. We have the Court of Calling. We have the Archdruid's Charm. We have Greater Good. We have the Birds of Paradise. We have Exploration. We have the Guardian Project. We have the Sylvan Library. And then we had the Summoner's Pact, the Oracle of Moldiah, Tooth and Nail. We're into the honorable mentions now. Disciple of Freelis, the Growing Rights of Itmalok, the Green Sun's Zenith, the Emerald Medallion, and the Yavimaya Hollow. If you're a green player, here are some cards that you need. And the best part of this is a lot of these are relatively inexpensive. Like, let's just look right now. I am just going to look up maybe the cost of a Sylvan Library. just for fun, all right? In the Sylvan Library, you can get one for 32 bucks. An Exploration, you could probably get it cheaper than that, to tell you the truth, right? An Exploration, you're looking at $28, $25 for one here. Like, those are the most expensive cards, so they're certainly all affordable, right? A lot of these cards are not that much at all. Yeah, but my Hollow's not cheap, but a lot of these cards you can get for, that's not an expensive card. That is not an expensive card, 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 all right? So it's a great way that if you're on a budget, you can really, really, really bump up your green decks. So those are some cards that you need in your green decks. If I am building a green deck, I've got two of mine here. The Niflgaardian Empire, that is Marwyn the Nurturer. And then we have Selvala, the Heart of the Wilds. That is the Forbidden Forest. These cards, they're in sleeves. They came from those decks. Real Cards with Bobby Maximus. Thank you for coming in, tuning in to another episode of Commander for Dummies. Listen, Commander is the greatest Magic game ever. I absolutely love it, and I absolutely love sharing the biggest passion in my life with like-minded people like you. So save, bookmark, do whatever you got to do, and come back for the next episode, because we're going to cover artifacts, we're going to cover green, we're going to cover red, we're going to cover blue, we're going to cover black, we are going to cover mana value, we are going to cover all the things in the Commander universe, and I am thrilled to be on this journey with you.